Sairam everyone. We will start the class with prayers. Om. 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 Sahana bhavatu. Sahanam bhunaktu. Saha viryam karavavahai. तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Sairam everyone. Just to recollect where we are in the study of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We are studying the section where Sri Krishna is talking about Sthita Prajna at the request of Arjuna. We have 5 verses left in this chapter. Today we will take up 2 verses. I think we will have to think what we were going to do hereafter, after this chapter is complete. I would welcome any suggestions from everyone. Most probably 1 or 2 classes only left for this chapter. So let's take a look at the 68th and 69th verse of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita called Sankhya Yoga. Tasmat yasya mahabaho निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. तस्माद्यस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. तस्माद्यस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा pratishtita. We will look at some pronunciation related aspects. Tasmadyasya mahabaho nihritani sarvashah. There are no aspirated consonants, so any special consonant which require more effort. It should be simpler to read. Indriyani indriyarthebhyastasya. In that, that's the and bhya. In these 2 letters, the first one is the, it's an aspirated consonant, second letter in the class of consonants. So as you have to aspirate it. In bhya, it's a compound consonant, ub and ya. The ub is aspirated. The bhya, okay. And stasya prajna, no aspirated consonants. Pratishtita. This shti, in that sh is cerebral sh. Tip of the tongue should point towards the roof of the mouth. Sh. And t, that's also an aspirated consonant, is the second letter in the ta varga or ta class of consonants. Pratishtita. Okay. Just pay attention to that. Let's look at sandhi related changes. Tasmat yasya is made up of 2 words, tasmat and yasya. The it becomes id because of sandhi, and it becomes tasmat yasya. Mahabaho stands alone, grihitani, sarvashah, both stand alone, no sandhi related changes. The next word is indriyani indriyarthebhyastasya. is made up of three words. Indriyani, Indriyatebhya, and Tasya. Indriyani and the ni and e together become a longer ni. Indriyani, Indriyartebhya. And the visarga in the word Indriyartebhya, that becomes is because of sandhi. The visarga becomes is. So it becomes Indriyartebhyastasya. Prajna and Pratishtita stand alone without any sandhi-related changes. And we can look at the word-to-word meanings. Tasmat. Tasmat means therefore. As you can remember, Krishna is talking about sense control the past couple of verses. So because of that, he's saying because mind can be pulled like a boat on the water and things like that. Senses can pull them. So he's saying therefore. Yasya. Yasya means whose. The person whose. And then he's saying Mahabaho. Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Mahabaho. Bahu means arms, hands. Mahabahu means very big arms. Generally, a warrior is addressed as Mahabahu, means one who is very strong in his arms. Mahabahu is addressing Arjuna, oh mighty armed one. Nigrihitani. Grihita, it means withdraw, control. Nigrihitani means in a very superior way, one who has controlled, one is those which are controlled. Sarvashaha. Sarvashaha means in every way possible, in all manners, at all times, in every circumstances. Okay. Sarvashaha. Indriyani means senses. Indriyani, plural. Indriyarthebhyaha. That means Indriyartha means objects of senses. Indriyarthebhya means from those sense objects. So what Krishna is saying is Yasya Indriyani Indriyarthebhyaha Nigrihitani Sarvashaha. That means whose senses from the sense objects are well controlled at all times. For a person whose senses are under control at all times from sense objects, tasya, for his prajna, or given the meaning of transcendental awareness. His transcendental awareness, that's his prajna, is pratishtita, is very well established. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, therefore, based on whatever I have told, for Arjuna, for a person whose senses are well controlled at all times from the objects, sense objects, his prajna is very well established. So that is some sort of a conclusion and an instruction by Sri Krishna to Arjuna. Now we look at a summary of the verse. O mighty armed Arjuna, therefore, one whose senses are well restrained from the sense objects, in all manner, his transcendental awareness is well established. So he has already told what sort of a person Sthita Prajna is. And he's also telling Arjuna how one can attain that state of Sthita Prajnatva, or the state of Sthita Prajna. He says we should be able to control our senses from all the sense objects at all times in all circumstances. Okay, I have an excerpt of Swami's discourse. Sorry, I think. You may imprison a person who has committed a crime. But you cannot prevent his mind from going all over the world. There is no judge in this world who can punish the mind. It is only God who has the power to command the mind of man. Therefore, God alone is Anushasitaram. In this discourse, Krishna Swami is talking about various aspects of God. Anushasitaram means one who establishes the law, who establishes the way people should live. Okay. So what Swami is saying here is only God is capable of establishing the law and making sure that it gets followed. Explaining thus, Buddha silenced the Pandit and advised him to shun the pride and ego of his scholarship. He told the Pandit not to get carried away by worldly knowledge. He exhorted him to acquire and practice divine knowledge and surrender to God. Buddha said, I undertook spiritual practice for a long time and went through various sacred texts in quest of knowledge of the self. Ultimately, I realized that mastering the senses is essential for acquiring knowledge of the self. The five senses are the gifts of God. Make proper use of them. Only then you can realize the self. What is the use of going through sacred texts and undertaking spiritual practices without proper utilization of the five senses? I have controlled the five senses and put them on the right path, as a result of which I am experiencing bliss. Buddha attained nirvana by controlling his five senses and making proper use of them. What is nirvana? It is nothing but merger in bliss. Water bubble is born in water, is sustained in bliss, and ultimately merges in it. Bliss can be experienced by controlling the five senses. This is the true sadhana. Mere chanting of the Lord's name will not suffice. First and foremost, the senses have to be controlled. At the time of attaining nirvana, Buddha saw his cousin, Ananda, shedding tears. He called him near and said, Ananda, true to your name, you should experience Ananda, bliss. You should never shed tears of sorrow. You are the embodiment of Ananda. All of us are embodiments of Brahma. Saying so, Buddha put his hand on Ananda and attained nirvana. Whoever understands this truth can experience bliss and attain divinity. When attaining liberation is so easy and simple, why do you struggle hard for it? It only means that you are not making any effort to understand the inner truth. You are mixing the metals of worldly desires with the gold of your heart. As a result, the heart has become polluted and has lost its true identity, bliss. Ancients have said that bliss lies in visualizing and experiencing your true form. That is the principle of the Atma. Proper utilization of senses will lead to the knowledge of the Atma. Sage Patanjali said, Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. The control of senses is true yoga. No sadhana is greater than this. All the spiritual practices such as japa, chanting the Lord's name, and tapa, penance, will be of no avail if senses are not controlled. You may be under the impression that it is not possible for a human being to control the senses. Here, control does not mean total cessation. Discharge your duties as a householder, student, or businessman. But whatever you do it with the feeling that it is to please God. Sarva karma bhagavat prityartham. Once you develop this feeling, all your senses will naturally be controlled. This is a discourse Swami gave in 1999. And there he's talking about Buddha. I think there may be some questions. How come Buddha is talking about God? Um, Swami has said many times spoken about Buddha and the concept of God. Um, Swami, Buddha never disputed the fact that God exists, but he wanted to focus on human life and how people can control the way they lead their lives. And naturally, they will realize God. And Swami has also said that Buddha calls dharma is nothing but his term for God. So dharma, dhamma, as they would say in Buddhism, Pali, is equivalent to God, and that's what Buddha is talking here. And Swami is talking about sense control required for attaining nirvana or liberation. We'll go to the next words. Yanisha sarvabhutana tasyam jagarti samyami. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. Yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. Yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. We will look at some pronunciation related aspects. Ya nisha, no aspirated consonants. Sarva bhutanam. In this word, bhu is an aspirated consonant, the fourth letter in the per class of consonants, bha. So it has to be aspirated. So sarva bhutanam. Tasyam jagarti samyami. In these three words, there are no aspirated consonants. Yasyam jagrati, no aspirated consonants. Bhutani, bhu again is aspirated. Sanisha pashyato munehe, no aspirated consonants. We look at sandhi related changes. There are no sandhi related changes except one, which is pashyato, is actually pashyataha, where visarga becomes u, and so tha plus u becomes to, pashyato. So pashyataha becomes pashyato because of sandhi. Other than that, there are no sandhi related changes in this verse. We can look at some look at word to word meaning. This verse is a very famous verse, quite often quoted by many. So we can just read this. I'll read the meaning. Ya. Ya means which. Ya is which means it's a feminine which. Nisha, night. Ya Nisha, because Nisha is a feminine word. Night. Ya Nisha means which night. Okay, which is night. Okay. Sarva Bhutanam. Sarva is all, Bhutanam, beings. Just an aside here, in one or two discourse, Swami is talking about this Bhutani. Bhuta is generally that which exists or in all beings. Swami also gives the word Bhuta means pisach, demon or a spirit. He says they cause problems. The spirits cause problems. So what are the spirits? Swami says senses are the spirits which are within us, which cause problems. So Swami also gives the meaning bhuta as senses. So you can say the night for all the senses or for all the beings. Tasya, in that night, at that time. Jagarti means awake. Samyami. Okay. So Samyami means people who have mastered samyama. I think we have discussed that before. Samyama is, you can say, sublimation of all the senses and inner antakarana, inner instruments. One who is well controlled, everything is under check. So such a person is samyami. Okay. That person is awake when all beings are sleeping. When all beings find it a night. That means when all the senses are sleeping, the one who is well controlled is awake. Yasyam means in which. Jagrati Bhutani. Jagrati means awake, Bhutani beings. You can see even senses. When the senses are all awake, or all the beings are awake, at that time, Sa means that, Nisha, night. Pashyatah Munehe. So for a person, Pashyatah means a seer. For a seer, means for the person who is able to see clearly. Pashyatah. Munehe, someone who is Muni or Rishi or sage. Swami says one who is ever in contemplation is a Muni. For such a person. So when the senses are awake, or when all the beings are awake, that is a night for the seer or the sage. Okay, so we can look at the summary. Which is night for all beings, in that the one who is well controlled is awake. That in which beings are awake is night for the seer, sage. So when others are awake, the sage is asleep. When others are sleeping, the sage is awake. So that's the meaning of this, literal meaning of these words. We can just read quite a few excerpts. Let's look at them. It is the royal road of Sthita Prajna to trample the senses and recognize the real nature of the Atma. Some of the commentators of the Gita today misinterpret the qualities of the Sthita Prajna and mislead the layman. Some of them, lacking in real experience, interpret the attributes of a Sthita Prajna in a ludicrous manner. The Sthita Prajna keeps awake when all others are asleep. That is, the Sthita Prajna is wide awake in the spiritual sphere, while the men of the world are in a state of slumber, oblivious of the matters of the spirit. While the ordinary people keep themselves awake in worldly transactions, Sathya Prajna does not take part in these activities and is, therefore, like one who is asleep as regards such matters. Control of the senses is absolutely essential for every individual. Look at this paper. It is now in its normal form. If it is rolled up and kept for some time in that state, it cannot regain its original form. When we want to bring it to its original and natural state, we must roll it in the reverse direction. So from our boyhood, knowingly or unknowingly, we roll our mind with the pull of the sensory and worldly desires. If we roll it up in the reverse direction, in the direction of the Atma, it will regain its original form. So we shall be able to gain control over the senses when we turn the vision inward, since it has been all along focused on external phenomena. Letting bygones be bygones, we should put in the necessary effort to restore the sacred nature of our mind by cultivating the inward vision. Whatever work we undertake, whatever thoughts we entertain, whatever whatever scenes we may visualize, we must make an endeavor from today to turn them forward. Of the 18 chapters of the Gita, Sankhya Yoga is very important. Mahatma Gandhi used to read Sankhya Yoga twice or thrice whenever his mind was restless and perturbed. It restored the peace of his mind. Sankhya Yoga is the life of the Gita. The name is derived from the inquiry of Sankhya in the chapter. Sankhya Yoga revealed the features of Sthita Prajna to Arjuna and chased away his delusions. And this is a discourse Swami gave in 1979 on 24th May, I think during the summer course, where Swami is talking about Sankhya Yoga, Gita, and also what Sthita Prajna would do. Okay. About him being awake to the spiritual domain and asleep to the world, when the others are doing the opposite thing. I have another excerpt. A true devotee is Sthita Prajna, equal-minded. He has a steady mind without any wavering. Many commentators of the Bhagavad Gita have interpreted the word Sthita Prajna in various ways. Some of them say when it's a day for ordinary people, it is night for Sthita Prajna and vice versa. O simpleton, is this the attribute of Sthita Prajna? The railway station masters and night watchmen keep awake the whole night and sleep during the day. Can we call them Sthita Prajnas? No, no. A Sthita Prajna is one who is always awake in matters relating to God and asleep regarding the worldly affairs. Normally, people are very alert in worldly matters. But a Sthita Prajna is always immersed in bliss, completely oblivious of all that is worldly. This is the attribute of a Sthita Prajna, one who is devoid of worldly tendencies and totally immersed in the contemplation of Vishweshwara, Supreme Being, is the Sthita Prajna. The Bhagavad Gita exhorts man to become a Sthita Prajna. Many things keep happening in this world. However, all that is related to God is full of bliss. There is nothing bad in the world. How can there be anything bad in God's creation? If you say something is bad, it is a defect of your vision. Can there be anything bad in the creation of God? You may judge something as good and something else as bad in accordance with your position and intelligence. But when you transcend your senses and mind, everything will appear to be good to you. You should treasure this feeling in your heart. However, till you reach such a high state, you should strive to follow the sacred path befitting your humanness. This is a discourse Swami gave in 1996. One more excerpt from the Gita Vahini, chapter 5. When Arjuna prayed that Keshava must tell him the true characteristics of Sthita Prajna, he replied, Partha, he will be free from all desire. He will be stable in the knowledge and awareness of the Atma only. Now, there are two processes in this. To give up all the promptings of desire in the mind is the negative process. To implant joy, ever-present joy therein, is the positive aspect. The negative process is to remove all the seedlings of wrong and evil from the mind. The positive process is to grow in the field cleansed, thus the crop of attachment to God. The cultivation of the crop you need is positive. The plucking of the weeds is the negative stage. The pleasures the senses draw from the objective world are weeds. The crop is the attachment to God. The mind is a bundle of wishes. Unless these wishes are removed by their roots, there's no hope of destroying the mind, which is a great obstacle in the path of spiritual progress. When the yarn that comprises the cloth is taken out one by one, what remains of the cloth? Nothing. The mind is made of the warp and woof of wishes. And when mind vanishes, the Chitta Prajna is made. So the first thing to be conquered is karma, the demon of desire. For this, it is unnecessary to wage a huge war. It is also unnecessary to use pleasing words to persuade the desire to disappear. Desires will not disappear for fear of the one or for favor of the other. Desires are objective. They belong to the category of the seen. With the conviction that I am the seer only, not the seen, Sathya Prajna releases himself from attachment. By this means, he conquers desire. You must watch the working of the mind from outside it. You should not get involved in it. That's the meaning of this discipline. The faculty of the mind has strong current of electricity. It has to be watched from a distance and not contacted or touched. Touch it, you are reduced to ashes. So too, contact and attachment give the chance for the mind to ruin you. The farther you are from it, the better. By skillful methods, you have to make the best use of it for your own welfare. The bliss which the Sthita Prajna is immersed in does not arise from external objects. He has no need of them either. Ananda is in everyone as part of his very nature. Those with pure consciousness find the highest bliss in the realization of their own reality, the Atma. That joy is swa-samvedya, self-earned, so to say. It is known only to the individual. It is self-evident. Since Arjuna had not known this, Krishna had to clarify it in simple terms in the 56, 57, and 58 slokas. Joy or grief can be met with in three forms. Adhyatmika, suffering due to mind, psyche. Adi Bhautika, suffering due to elements. And Adi Daivika, suffering due to demigods. It is well known that sin brings grief as a retribution and meritorious deeds bring joy as a reward. So advice is given to avoid sins and perform meritorious deeds. But the Sthita Prajna, a steady wisdom individual, knows neither the pain of grief nor the thrill of joy. He is not repulsed by one or attracted by the other. He will not retreat from pain before pain or run forwards towards pleasure. Only those who are ignorant of the Atma will exult or droop when stricken with joy or grief. The Sthita Prajna will be ever engaged in manana or contemplation and rumination. He is called Muni, one who has controlled the mind and is established in silence. His intellect is steady because the senses do not harry it. One point has to be understood here. Conquest of the senses is essential for sadhana, spiritual practice. But that is not all. So long as the objective world continues to attract the mind, one cannot claim complete success. That is why Krishna says, Arjuna, establish mastery over the senses, then you need have no fear, for they become serpents with fangs removed. But there's still danger from thoughts and impulses which draw you outward. Desire has no limit. It can never be satiated. So, along with the mastery of the senses, one must establish mastery of the mind also. That is a sign of a sthita prajna, a steady wisdom individual, and not a gata prajna, no wisdom individual. Where does the gata prajna go? To perdition and nowhere else. The upward path, the higher stage, that is for the Sthita Prajna. Of these two masteries, if the mind is subdued, that alone is enough. It is not necessary then to conquer the external senses. If the mind has no attachment with objects, the senses have nothing to cling on to. They perish by inanition. Love and hate are both starved out of existence. The bonds of the objective world are cut, though the senses may yet be affected by it. For him who has been blessed by an awareness of the Atma, how can anything worldly bring grief or joy? As the stars fade into invisibility when the sun rises, so too when the sun of knowledge or jnana rises, grief, agitation, and ignorance vanish. Man has three chief instruments: mind, the intellect, and the senses. It is when these three work in unison and cooperate with one another that either immersal in the flux or liberation in the knowledge of the Atma is realized. Krishna anticipated that Arjuna will be puzzled to know what will happen when which operates with which. So he himself provided the answer. Arjuna, he said, when the mind cooperates with the senses, you enter into the flux called samsara, change. When it subordinates itself to the intellect, you attain the knowledge of the Atma. One path leads to samsara prapti, worldly fulfillment, the other to Atma prapti, fulfillment of the soul. The intellect must resolve, the mind must carry out the resolution so made. That is the correct procedure. The indriyas or senses have to be fully destroyed. That is the hallmark of Sthita Prajna. So when all beings are experiencing night, a Sthita Prajna would keep himself awake. When all beings are awake, the Sthita Prajna would be asleep. The literal meaning of this is that which is night for one is day for the other. But that would sound absurd. It would mean Sthita Prajna is a person who sleeps during the day and keeps awake at night. The inner meaning of the statement is very profound. Ordinary men are vigilant in affairs that concern the senses, that arise out of this world. Wakefulness for them is the care they bestow on worldly pursuits. But Sthita Prajna is unconcerned with these very things. He is, so to say, asleep. What does sleep mean? It means the happiness resulting from the inactivity of the senses. And vigilance, it means yielding to the senses and catering to them. When ordinary men are pursuing the senses and their demands, the Sthita Prajna is asleep. This can also be put in other words. Forget the Atma Sthiti and you relapse into Deha Sthiti. From the Atma consciousness stage, you fall into the body consciousness stage. This is what happens to the ordinary man. He sleeps in the Atma stage and wakes into the Deha Sthiti. The Sthita Prajna's case is different. He sleeps in the Deha consciousness and wakes in the awareness of the Atma. He will not wake even by mistake in the sensory world, the world where the ordinary man is most vigilant. This is the inner meaning. It is far from the literal meaning, which, if taken as true, would entitle thieves, watchmen, and others to the name Sthita Prajna. For all these keep awake at night and sleep during the day. Only those who have given up traces of desire and become mere instruments can achieve Shanti, peace. Krishna ends the description of the Sthita Prajna with an emphasis on Kamana Tyaga, the giving up of desire. To man sorrowing on the battlefield of life, bewildered by the attractions and distractions, not knowing where to turn and which road to take, Madhava taught this Sankhya Yoga, second chapter. The other chapters are like commentaries on the teachings in this chapter. Arjuna, prepare yourself for giving up the mind, for being merged in your own self. Withdraw the mind from the Shabda, sound, sparsha, touch, rupa, form, rasa, taste, and gandha, smell categories of the five elements. Then you become a sthita prajna, said Krishna. This excerpt is from Gita Vahini, chapter 5. That's all I have prepared for today. Today being a national seva activity called tree plantation. So I thought it better to keep it a bit short. So whoever would like to attend will be able to. I will stop here. If there are any questions, I will answer. Yes, Swami.
Sairamna. So, for the Sthita Prajna who has to live in this world and not get attached to the worldly desires, but yet that person has to live in this world. So, whatever happens, anything that happens to that person, he just needed to be, not take that into his mind and just witness, just experience.
That's right. That's right, Swami. Because if we are active in the world, we have to be active in the world. We have to act in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So for which senses are used?
Mm-hmm.
That's why Swami gives another technique, which is offering everything to God.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we do, offer it to God, even the worldly activities which we engage in. And we should make sure that the senses are used in a proper manner. And the mind should be always immersed in thinking of God or Atman. That way, even though the senses are active, they will not bind us. They will not create a bondage. And I think those are things which you said. So that's the way to do it. Swami has nicely explained.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Sister Brinda.
Sorry, brother. How would you correlate between establishing dharma in like how Krishna asked Arjuna to do, and also Swami saying, "Say good in everyone." So I'm wondering how hard it will be to tolerate someone like Duryodhana, and also um, controlling your senses. Like if you leave everything like attachment, like in Buddha's sense, nirvana. Uh, will anyone want to establish that something like that? They want to keep
Yeah,
everything away from them. Sorry.
yeah. So let me see if I've understood your question, sister. So what you're saying is, Swami says we should see the good in others. That means even a person like Duryodhana who is performing adharma, should we see good in him? And if that is so, how can we establish dharma? How can we go about? Because we will see everything is good. I think that's the way I understood your question. I hope.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So the thing is, see, when Swami says see the good in the other person, Swami wants us to realize that that person also has an Atman. That Atman is nothing but yourself and it's also God. That is the real good. Everything else is bad, which is worldly. But that's why Arjuna was confused. He did not want to battle. He did not want to wage war. But Krishna makes a great distinction in Sankhya Yoga. That is basically, he is distinguishing Atman versus Anatman. Atman is God, the Supreme Lord who is in everyone. Everything else in this world is Anatman. And that has to be properly put in place in order. Not out of hatred, but out of knowledge that this is required for smooth functioning of the world to support all good activities, progress. So I think we should make a clear distinction. When we deal with people, we should understand each person who we deal with has mind and the body, and the person also has Atman. So as soon as we forget there's Atman in the person, then we develop hatred. But when we recognize that there is Atman in the person, at the same time the person has a mind and body which needs to be fixed, we will act with an objective view that this has to be fixed from a worldly perspective. which is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. He's telling fight, but then he's also saying Adveshta Sarvabhutana. Don't have hatred for any being. So the thing is, not having hatred is an important thing, but knowing what is the action which is required in the worldly sense is performed in objectively. It is like a doctor. A person comes, the person has some cancer. So it has to be operated on. It has to be surgically removed. But the doctor does not hate the patient. He does not even hate the cancer. But he realizes for helping this person, we have to remove the cancer. Along with the cancer, maybe some good parts of the body also can be amputated. So the attitude with which our mind works in dealing with the world is very important. So when we say see the good, means see the divinity in that person. And that way we will remove hatred and we will be objective in whatever has to be done without wanting to cause harm or hurt to that person. Even a surgeon who does surgery will make sure that there's anesthesia and the patient doesn't feel the pain. So that way we can deal with the world and deal with what needs to be fixed or corrected for the welfare of everyone without having hatred in the person, recognizing that the divine exists in that person also. So that's the way I understand this. I hope that
Yes,
answers.
yes. Very nice, brother. Thank you so much.
If there are no other questions, we will close today. So I have 3 more verses. So maybe next session, maybe I will complete it. And I think we have an Ekadash Rutram coming 1 week. So I will just open it up for any suggestions. I will give few minutes for anyone to give suggestions, and then otherwise you can contact me personally. Saira.
Sairam.
Saira, please go.
Can I say something? I don't know.
Yes, Auntie.
Yeah. The thing is, like, what are we planning to do next? I don't know.
I don't have any plans.
So, what are the possible things that we could do? What are the things that we could think of?
Okay. I wanted to give the option to the attendees. I can say a few things which we can do. There are other chapters of Bhagavad Gita we can do. There was
What are the other chapters? Okay.
one, I think, suggestion I had was Patanjali's Yoga Sutras.
Okay.
Today, actually, incidentally, Swami has quoted it, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Swami,
What is Yoga Chitta, sir? Actually, like, can you clarify?
Which one?
The second one. Can you clarify that?
Yoga Chitta, yeah. So Patanjali is the one who established the Ashtanga Yoga, the
Okay.
8 yoga.
Okay.
And he, just the way we did Narada Bhakti Sutras, he has composed sutras, aphorisms related to yoga.
Yoga.
Which is basically how we should control the chitta.
Okay.
The mind control, which we discussed. Sathya Prajna is the one who controls the mind.
So it's the second.
So what Patanjali does is he scientifically goes about what is wrong with chitta, what causes problem in the chitta, how it should be controlled, and so on. I mean, generally people think yoga means doing asanas or doing some pranayama. Those are also 1 or 2 limbs in that, but Patanjali goes to great detail. So that's also something which we can do. It's just, these are, for a few months we can do. Or Bhagavad Gita, other chapters we can do. And I think there are also requests from people to dwell on meanings of the suktas, the Vedic chants which people chant. That also could be done. So I will just leave it open. Others can provide their suggestions, and then based on that, I will choose.
But from what you are telling, I mean, Yoga Chittas is something that I would like to know, because next class I may not be able to come. That's why I'm poking myself here and talking. So my option is Yoga Chittas. But
Okay.
I will leave it to the main body.
Yes.
I mean, I will go by the majority. I'm not, but I
Yes.
just wanted to tell my views. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Andy.
Thank you. I don't know, because I'm not sure. Sometimes I may come, I may not come also next class.
Yeah. So this where Swami says, Sage Patanjali said, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha.
Okay.
The control
Shall we
of the
go through
senses.
that again?
Yoga,
Mm.
yoga is Chitta Vritti, the occupation of the Chitta.
Okay.
Nirodha controls it. So
Nirodha.
Chitta is full of vasanas. And that's what creates desires. Because we have enjoyed something, so we want it again. So that is the problem with Chitta. The Chitta Vritti, the tendency of the Chitta to be active, impelling people to action. That has to be controlled, and once that is controlled, one attains yoga, which is the same topic of controlling the mind, the desires, and things like that. But Patanjali goes into very technical details of, how do we go about step by step. That's a good thing about
How
Patanjali.
long is that?
I think a couple of hundred sutras. So if you do 2 or 3 a week,
Yeah.
so you're looking at about 1 year.
Okay.
1 year or 2 years.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know, but I just wanted to voice my opinion. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Auntie. Others also can share their
Yeah,
idea.
of course, I'll go by the majority.
Yes, Auntie, thank you. So if there's nothing else, I will close the session for today and meet you next week. Saira. Om Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam everyone.